Warren Buffett is stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He made that big announcement today at the company's annual meetings, shocking shareholders.
I think it's the time has arrived where Greg should become the chief executive officer of the company at year end, and I want to spring that on the directors effectively and give that as my recommendation. Let them have the time to think about what questions or what structures or anything they want, and then there's the meeting following that.
When Warren Buffett, the legendary chief executive of Berkshire Hathaway, revealed in May 2025 that he would step down at the end of the year, news outlets around the world heralded it as the end of an era. At 94 years old, and after more than 6 decades at the helm, Buffett stunned shareholders and investors alike by passing the torch. His announcement at the annual shareholder meeting in Omaha prompted a prolonged and heartfelt standing ovation, a poignant tribute to a man widely known as the Oracle of Omaha. The market's reaction was swift. Berkshire Hathaway's stock plunged nearly 5% on May 5th, reflecting investor uncertainty about a post-Buffett leadership landscape. Some analysts speculated that this sharp dip, part of a broader 10 to 13% slide since the announcement, was an overreaction, possibly even a valuable buying opportunity. Buffett's retirement signals more than just a leadership change. It marks the conclusion of a remarkable chapter. Under his stewardship, Berkshire transformed from a failing textile mill into a $1.16 trillion global powerhouse, with annual after-tax operating earnings exceeding $45 billion. His value investing philosophy, emphasizing businesses with strong fundamentals and dependable stewardship, became a defining creed for generations of investors. With Buffett stepping down as CEO but remaining as chairman, the foundations of Berkshire remain rooted. Still, his absence raises big questions about the future. That raises the central question of this story. What happens next for a company built on one man's reputation? Let's explore. When Warren Buffett first acquired Berkshire Hathaway in the mid-1960s, it was a failing New England textile company on the brink of irrelevance. Most investors at the time would have written it off as an industrial relic destined for liquidation. But Buffett saw an opportunity, not in textiles themselves, but in using Berkshire as a vehicle to channel capital into more profitable arenas. Over the next 6 decades, he transformed this struggling mill into one of the most successful and admired conglomerates in history. Today, Berkshire Hathaway commands a market capitalization of over $1 trillion and controls nearly 200 subsidiaries that span industries as diverse as insurance, railroads, utilities, manufacturing, and consumer goods. The list of companies under Berkshire's umbrella reads like a catalog of American household names. Geico became synonymous with low-cost auto insurance. BNSF Railway emerged as one of the largest freight railroads in North America, and Dairy Queen, along with See's Candies, showcased Buffett's knack for acquiring beloved consumer brands. Beyond wholly owned subsidiaries, Buffett also built a stock portfolio worth over $264 billion, anchored by stakes in companies such as Apple, Coca-Cola, and American Express. This blend of wholly owned businesses and carefully selected equity stakes gave Berkshire a balance sheet that rivals sovereign wealth funds. What distinguished Buffett from most CEOs wasn't just the size of the empire he built, but the philosophy guiding his decisions. His annual letters to shareholders became required reading on Wall Street and in business schools. They weren't filled with complex jargon or flashy projections, but with plain-spoken wisdom. Never invest in a business you cannot understand. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. And time is the friend of the wonderful business, the enemy of the mediocre. Again and again, he emphasized a consistent set of themes. Buy businesses with strong fundamentals. Trust competent management. That cash hoard has now ballooned to nearly $344 billion, an almost unfathomable reserve that gives Berkshire's new leadership, headed by Greg Abel, extraordinary flexibility. This mountain of liquidity not only acts as a cushion in volatile markets, but also provides dry powder to seize opportunities in distressed assets, large acquisitions, or strategic equity stakes. Buffett often said he liked to keep enough cash so that I could sleep at night no matter what the markets were doing. That prudence has become a core pillar of Berkshire's identity. The lesson that emerges from Buffett's tenure is deceptively simple yet rarely followed. Capital paired with patience is an unbeatable combination. In an age when many CEOs chase quarterly earnings targets or speculative hype cycles, Buffett stood apart as someone willing to wait years, even decades, for investments to bear fruit. That philosophy turned a once bankrupt textile business into a $1 trillion conglomerate, and it gives Berkshire the momentum to endure long after his retirement. The question of who would succeed Warren Buffett had hovered over Berkshire Hathaway for decades, fueling speculation in boardrooms, newsrooms, and investor circles. Would it be Ajit Jain, the brilliant architect of Berkshire's insurance empire? Or would it be one of Buffett's children, perhaps Howard Buffett, stepping into a more direct leadership role? Or might Berkshire even face the rare possibility of being split apart to make succession simpler? For years, Buffett deflected, assuring shareholders that a plan existed, but keeping the name close to his vest. In May 2025, the suspense ended. The time has arrived where Greg should become the chief executive officer, Buffett told a packed arena of shareholders at Berkshire's legendary annual meeting in Omaha. The announcement was met with both surprise and inevitability. Surprise at hearing it finally spoken out loud. Inevitability because those who had followed Berkshire closely knew Abel had been the heir apparent for years. Greg Abel, then serving as vice chairman of non-insurance operations, was already responsible for vast swaths of Berkshire's empire. He oversaw Berkshire Hathaway Energy, BHE, the company's $100 billion renewable and utility behemoth, and BNSF Railway, one of North America's largest freight carriers. These are not side businesses, they are pillars of Berkshire's financial stability. Under Abel's leadership, BHE became a leader in renewable energy, investing billions into wind, solar, and natural gas infrastructure at a scale unmatched by many pure-play energy companies. Likewise, his steady stewardship of BNSF helped the railroad maintain robust profitability in an industry where efficiency is everything. On January 1st, 2026, Abel will formally step into the CEO role. At 62, he brings over 30 years of experience within Berkshire and its subsidiaries. Originally from Edmonton, Canada, Abel joined Berkshire Hathaway Energy in the early 1990s, eventually rising to CEO. His reputation was built not on flashy headlines, but on operational discipline. He was known for his meticulous attention to detail, calm decision-making, and loyalty to Berkshire's long-term principles. In many ways, Abel reflects Buffett's own mantra: don't chase attention, just focus on results. Abel's quiet rise may have surprised the general public, but within Berkshire, his leadership qualities had been clear for decades. Buffett has often said that Abel embodies the culture of the company, a culture rooted in trust, decentralization, and stewardship. Unlike many conglomerates where the CEO keeps a tight rein on subsidiaries, Buffett always allowed his managers enormous autonomy, a philosophy he expected his successor to continue. Abel, by all accounts, shares this respect for decentralization, while also bringing a willingness to modernize and be, as he put it, more active, but hope. Still, Abel will face enormous shoes to fill. Buffett is not just a CEO, but a cultural icon, one whose annual letters, media presence, and folksy wisdom turn shareholder meetings into pilgrimages. Abel is cut from a different cloth, less of a public philosopher, more of a pragmatic operator. Investors will be watching closely to see whether he can maintain the balance between operational excellence and the almost mythic aura that Buffett cultivated. Yet perhaps that is exactly Berkshire's strength in this moment. Buffett didn't choose a clone, he chose a steward. Abel doesn't need to be the next Buffett. He needs to ensure that the principles Buffett instilled remain intact, while adapting the company to new economic realities. The next few years will test how well this transfer of power has been architected. But with Buffett as chairman, Ajit Jain continuing to oversee insurance, and Howard Buffett stepping in as cultural guardian, Abel inherits not just a title, but a carefully prepared foundation. If history is any guide, Abel's ascension will be less about revolution and more about quiet continuity. And in the unpredictable, often volatile world of global markets, that continuity may prove to be Berkshire Hathaway's greatest asset in the post-Buffett era. Even in stepping away from the day-to-day grind, Warren Buffett has no intention of disappearing from Berkshire Hathaway. At the 2025 shareholder meeting where he announced his retirement, Buffett quipped with characteristic humor that he might hang around and conceivably be useful in a few cases. Beneath the folksy delivery was a carefully constructed message. While Greg Abel will be fully empowered to make decisions as CEO, Buffett's presence as chairman ensures the company will not be navigating its next chapter alone. Investors who have long drawn comfort from Buffett's steady hand know he will still be in the room, offering institutional memory and guidance built over 6 decades. His influence won't be in issuing directives, but in serving as the wise elder, the living embodiment of Berkshire's values. Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio rests on giants. Apple, $63.6 billion. American Express, $48 billion. Bank of America, $28 billion. Coca-Cola, $28 billion. And Chevron, $19 billion. These aren't just stocks. They are long-term anchors reflecting Buffett's belief in durable, cash-generating businesses. But Berkshire's genius has never been about only chasing big names. Buffett also sought boring but dependable firms. The recent acquisition of Bell Laboratories, a rodent control company, may sound unglamorous, but it perfectly fits Berkshire's playbook. Businesses with stable revenue and modest but reliable growth. Then there's Berkshire's most powerful weapon, a $344 billion cash reserve. This immense liquidity gives Greg Abel unmatched flexibility, allowing him to deploy capital when opportunities appear. History shows that Berkshire thrives in downturns, stepping in when others can't. Abel now has the chance to use this arsenal to expand in sectors like utilities, healthcare, and consumer staples. industries that align with Berkshire's DNA of stability and resilience. At its heart, the strategy hasn't changed. Patience, discipline, and capital put to work in the right places. With Abel now at the helm, the question is how he will write the next chapter of that philosophy. Investors are cautious. Short-term volatility is expected. Analysts at CFRA pointed to uncertainty over Abel stepping into Buffett's shoes and questioned whether a Buffett premium would continue. Still, others argue the sell-off is exaggerated. Buffett's presence as chairman and Abel's established track record at Berkshire Hathaway Energy may cushion the transition. The company's undervalued stock price may soon attract buyers looking to capitalize on its conservative balance sheet and disciplined investment approach. Broader investment themes come into view, especially for investors fleeing speculative tech hype. Berkshire's focus on stable industries presents a safe haven when macro volatility intensifies. Warren Buffett walking away as CEO closes a chapter of nearly magic decades. His investing legacy, heightened by discipline, patience, and incremental capital compounding, has altered the investing landscape forever. But his legacy isn't only measured in returns. It's etched in leadership cadence, communication style, and the non-executive mentors he cultivated. Leaving Greg Abel in charge with a team including Jain and Howard Buffett implies continuity rather than collapse. Abel's stewardship will define Berkshire's next era, not by replicating Buffett, but by building upon his foundation with modern sensibility. Berkshire's immense cash hoard, diversified businesses, and enduring brand identity set the stage for ongoing relevance. Increasingly, this transition demonstrates a rare feat in finance, a once-in-a-century leader departing not in chaos, but with ceremony, confidence, and quiet optimism. Berkshire Hathaway's future is unclear, but its foundation is stronger than the fears about change. Warren Buffett's retirement is the end of a legendary tenure that transformed a textile firm into a multi-trillion-dollar juggernaut. Greg Abel, seasoned and trusted, takes the reins. Buffett remains as a guiding chairman, with cultural continuity through Howard Buffett and insurance robustness via Ajit Jain. The company's investment strategy remains steady, backed by massive cash reserves and iconic holdings. Challenges remain, especially market jitters and legacy comparisons. Yet, with disciplined leadership, Berkshire is well positioned to thrive. What's next? Berkshire has outlived many industrial transitions, not because of celebrity, but because of culture. As it enters its next chapter, its legacy is now Abel's to shape and invest in.